Hey, hey,
How you doing, Bob?
I'm all right, Frank. How are you? You got the nice branding. I like to see it. It's well done.
You as well. You as
Yeah,
well.
yeah, yeah. I've got I've started a weekly cornhole league. Well, not started. I started a team at the pub actually at the brewery that's hosting my Jimmy Fun fundraiser. Plug for as we end the show later. But yeah, so I kind of get back and I'm like I got to throw a hat on and like let me at least like wear something that is for the cause, so to speak.
Sure.
So
Sure.
yeah. But how are things? We talked on the phone, but haven't seen your face in a since
Things
last
things
November, I guess.
things are going well. We're Expect Miracles is off to a well, I shouldn't say off to. It's it's hard to believe it's August. We're having a terrific year. We had a young professional event last night, Battle of the Bartenders in Boston, and it was a record crowd and record fundraising. So, knock on wood, we're gonna keep the momentum going. So it's been a great
Record
year. Yeah.
record after record.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so we'll kind of jump into it, and really appreciate you coming on. I wanna start with a little bit more about you and your life outside of work. We'll obviously get to the work stuff because that's the big reason for the chat here.
Sure.
But just for those joining for the first time, as this is my third podcast interview here, as I tried to get this thing going. But this is the Bob Battles Cancer or BBC23 kind of interview series, and you're number three, not in my hearts, but just in practical order. Um, and as we'll kind of get into, actually, the way that I've set this up is I've got four kind of categories of the folks that I'm talking to, right? And I put you in two of them. You're actually my second one now that I put in two places, but different ones. In the sense that I've kind of got you as a fellow fighter, stories from the front line due to kind of some family personal journey support network stuff, right, which we'll get into, but also what I call fueling the fight, right, which is definitely one of the main ones that I want to make sure that I spend time talking to folks to kind of thank them for what they do, but we'll have plenty of time for that, right? So what I'd love to just start with is just like tell the people, as they say, about you, Frank, your life, like outside of. We'll have plenty of time to talk about EMF, but like
Sure.
just a little bit about yourself and yeah,
Sure.
what do you do outside of that?
Sure. Well, I appreciate this, Bob. So I'm Frank Heavey. I am 59 years old. Grew up in Massachusetts. I married for 32 years to my wonderful wife, Whitney, who's a cancer survivor. We have two grown young adult daughters, Grace and Maddie, 28 and 26. Grace actually works as a scientist at Dana Farber, as a researcher, and Maddie is running a youth program at a Boston Center for Independent Living here in Boston, helping people with disabilities. So we live on Cape Cod in Chatham. The kids we grew the kids were raised in Acton.
Hmm?
We moved down here about 5 years ago, and it's been wonderful. I've been at Expect Miracles now for 13 years, just about to start my 14th year. Spent the most of my career in the financial services industry. Before that, I was a teacher for 10 years. Got out of college. I went to Connecticut College down in New London, Connecticut. Played lacrosse there. Went to high school at Lincoln Sudbury in Sudbury, Mass. And huge Red Sox fan. Loved baseball. Um, yeah, that's pretty much the story. Come from a
Yeah, that's a
background.
succinct summary. I think you've done this before. You you covered quite a bit there. I learned some things, to be honest, that I didn't know myself. But no surprise that you've got like a whole family of like I went to St. Joe's Prep in Philly, and it's a Jesuit high school, and they've got similar schools up here. St. John's is kind of similar, but they use the term like MFOs or men and women for others, and like you've got a whole family of them right there, which is incredible. I did not know that one of your daughters worked at Dana Farber, so that's news to me, and that's great. You know that's great that you just got a whole family of do-gooders in the best way possible.
Yeah.
Um, um, yeah, so one of the things that I am, kind of again curious about for those that find their way here, because I know, kind of most of it, part of it, but to the extent that you're comfortable, we'll get into EMF itself, but like you mentioned when you joined, but like what's the curious about for those that want to know about the origin story of kind of how you found your way to EMF from financial services.
Sure.
Um, yeah, I think it's a little personal and would be good to hear.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy to share it, Bob. So, as I said, I was a high school history teacher for 10 years out of college, and we started a family. My oldest was born in '99, and when you become a dad, as you and Christina being parents, you can recognize your life changes, and um, I wanted to provide for them, and I also wanted to scratch an itch. It was a good time to go looking for a job with no experience. So I went from being a history teacher and was fortunate enough to get into the financial services industry. And at that time, my mom was fighting breast cancer. She had been diagnosed in '98. And my wife was pregnant at the time. And we were fortunate that, the after I call it a country doctor, a doctor up in New Hampshire, gave her 6 months to live. And, that was just heartbreaking. And here I am about to become a new dad. My wife Whitney's pregnant at the time. And we were fortunate to get my mom to be seen at Dana Farber in Boston. And, again, this is the first foray into the world of cancer. My parents were older. They came from a generation where you didn't talk about things like that. When relatives died, they died of old age. And so it was quite the baptism by fire, learning about this thing called cancer. And we were fortunate that the FDA had just approved the long-term use of tamoxifen, hormone treatment for women with breast cancer. And it did wonders for my mom. She, for reasons I'll never understand, she didn't want to have treatment. And so we were fortunate that Dr. Barbara Smith at Dana Farber. She was a wonderful physician, and she got my mom on tamoxifen, and mom was able to stay alive for almost 3 years. And she got to see my both my daughters born, develop a relationship with my oldest daughter, Grace, before she passed away. But that was the first time, our immediate family was impacted by cancer. And in '99, I left teaching to join the financial services industry. Mom has cancer, and one of my clients was uh, uh, Capital Growth Management, CGM, and the treasurer there was Frank Strauss. And Frank had started what is now Expect Miracles Foundation, back then called Mutual Funds Against Cancer, in '99. I'm sorry, '95. And it was just a golf tournament. I played golf. He was a client. Cancer obviously was all of a sudden something I was very passionate about because my mom was battling it, and so I played in my first golf tournament in 2000. Um, Unfortunately, mom's the tamoxifen eventually became ineffective, and the tumor continued to grow, and she passed away in 2001. Fast forward 11 years. So the year was 2012, and my dad was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, which, as I'm sure you know, is one of the really deadly ones because it's caught so late. And so it was March of 2012 when he was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. Was treated at Dana Farber. Um, And he received daily chemo and radiation every day. So we had a chemo pump, and every day one of us would take him to Dana Farber for his radiation treatment. And he was born in 1928, so he grew up in the Depression and World War II. That generation, you pulled yourself up by the bootstraps and you rubbed a little dirt in it, and you kept moving. And he was quite a trooper about it, despite being horribly sick because of the side effects. And I'll never forget it, Bob. It was June 26th. You can't take the history teacher out of me. June 26th, 2012, and we called him up to he was living with my sister at this point, and called my dad up to cheer, way to go, Grandpa, you finished treatment. And the next day, my wife Whitney was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. She had been having some breathing issues when she was running, and because of what my father was going through, we were on really heightened alert. And she promised that she would go get it checked out, which she did. And we were very fortunate because she went to one of the local outpatient, Medi stops here on the Cape, and it's a guardian angel was looking out for her because I don't know if it was a nurse or a doctor that she saw, but they insisted that Whitney get an X-ray, and Whitney was convinced it was just allergies. Um, but they insisted you got to get an X-ray, and the X-ray showed a tumor, and it was the shape of a pear, the size of a pear, and it was covering her heart. And so they sent us directly to Cape Cod Hospital, where they did further testing to determine it was cancer. We didn't know what type, but because of its location, they put her in an ambulance and rushed her up to Boston. And I didn't even know where they were taking her. It was happening so quickly, but they took her to Beth Israel, and it took about 3 days to diagnose it. It was a really rare form of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. It was a primary mediastinal, uh, large B cell diffused non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And like I said, it took 3 days to get to that subcategory of it. And then they started treatment immediately. And she went through the first round, 3 days of chemo. I'll never forget it. It was the last of the 3 days was July 4th, 2012. And so now my wife has cancer and my dad has cancer. About a week or two later, my dad, once he was ready, they did a scan only to find that the tumor had actually grown. So all those days, 3 months worth of daily chemo and radiation for nothing.
Mm.
And he was devastated. And so that was a really tough thing. I'm a big believer in hope. Having grown up a Red Sox fan, you have faith and you believe in hope. And as long as there's one out left, one strike left, you have hope. I mean, as a Philly fan, you get it. And
Sure
it was
do.
tough, when the doctor said to my dad, there's nothing more we can do. So Whitney was treated like I said, at Beth Israel to start. I did a lot of research to find out, going back to my history days, to just natural inclination to research this, and found out that the five, really top cancer centers in the United States each did a different treatment protocol for her subtype of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And I'll never forget, Bob, she said to me, I want you to decide. And we took
No pressure. No
yeah.
pressure at all.
We
Wow.
made the decision to move her to Dana Farber because to have access potentially for clinical trials, to have a plan B, basically, right? It was so scary. It was so scary. And my daughters at the time, so they had just finished sixth grade and eighth grade. So the youngest is going off to middle school, and the oldest is going off to high school. And I had just switched jobs. I'd been at BNY Mellon for 12 years and switched jobs. And so it was quite a tumultuous time. And fortunately, we were able to get her into Dana Farber. And an amazing physician that she saw, Dr. Arnold Freeman, who was just a genius. He was the oncologist, and then Peter Malk, Dr. Malk, was the radiation oncologist, and they treated her amazingly, and she responded quite well to the therapy. And knock on wood, she's doing fantastic 14 years later. So um, yeah, it was quite a battle. She went through you know 3 months of chemo and then a month of daily radiation, and she was declared um, no evidence of disease, Ned.
Yes. Dana's
December,
very specific about their terminology. I've tried to explain this to
no,
people.
no evidence of disease on December 10th, 2012. And my dad at that point, Bob, was so weak that he couldn't even hold the phone up, and I would call him every day and check in on him. And towards the end, he would just say one thing to me. He would say, "How's Whitney?" He just wanted to know how she was doing. And um, so on December 10th, we shared the great news: no evidence of disease for Whitney. And then my dad passed away on December 22nd. So
He was
yeah,
waiting.
I think so, Bob. I really do. They bonded, and it's a bond that, you know, for someone like me not having experienced personally experienced cancer, I can't understand. But the two of them had quite a bond because they were going through it at the same time and experiencing, as you well know, all the just crazy side effects, stuff that I just couldn't understand. Food tasting totally different, food that you had absolutely loved before, and now it just tasted horribly. And the neuropathy and just things that you don't think of and you don't experience unless you've actually gone through it. And so they really bonded, and it was really special to see. And yeah, I truly believe he hung on until he knew that she was going to be okay.
It's almost like he took it from her in a way, like I mean he went through it, he battled it, but he's like
Yeah,
I've lived long and hard and
yeah,
if I can take one, let me
yeah,
let me make sure that you get that Ned.
yeah,
Um, that's I mean you're more surrounded by it than I even realized, to be honest. So no wonder. And then it seems like a few years later, you're at the golf tournament, and
yeah,
someone starts hitting you up. Maybe I mean I don't know the
yeah.
exact how it happened, but
Yeah, it was interesting, Bob. I had sent a note in 2012 when my dad and Whitney were both battling cancer. I sent a note to Frank Strauss just to thank him. You know, I had stayed involved with the at that point Expect Miracles Foundation. Throughout the years in various capacities, and had a lot of friends that were doing the Pan Mass Challenge, and I just constantly thought about all the people out there that were making a difference and caring and doing something about it, like raising funds. And so it's something I hung my hat on. It was what I held on to for hope. And I think I got to see hope completely evaporate instantly like a light switch when the doctor walked into the appointment with my dad to say, "I'm sorry, the tumor's grown. There's nothing more we can do."
mhm.
Um, that was brutal. And I remember the meeting with the doctor when Whitney finished half her rounds of chemo and had her first scan, and that was going to tell us whether the treatment was effective or not. And they walked in and they said, "You are responding beautifully. The tumors shrunk so much we can barely even see it." So I've seen it on both sides. But I was fortunate enough to be at an industry conference, and it was providential in my opinion. I was 2,000 people. It was an ICI conference down in DC, and all these people in this ballroom. I kind of turn around, and Frank Strauss is standing there, and we get chatting. He was asking about my family, and we started chatting more. And at the end of the conversation, I said, "If you ever need a guy, I'd love to help you out. And the next week he called me and said, let's have lunch. And
Right.
I've been there since. That was 2013. I joined. So it's an honor to be able to do this work, and I get to meet great people and supporters like yourself.
Yeah, yeah, we'll get to that. We're halfway through our time already, and this is what I meant when when I was like setting this up with you. I'm like, I basically ask one question, and then it just kind of goes, and then I throw in a few at the end. Um, yeah, so that's a bit of very personal story to kind of how you found your way to EMF, and you've got some of your own miracles that you've obviously talked through. But as far as Expect Miracles Foundation, right? I mean, I think I was just looking it up. I saw I know the 30 years for the golf, or for the golf, since the original Frank's original story there, and then 20 years for the gala, and 10 for Manhattan, I think. So,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, it's incredible how long this is, and the spread that this has had. But look, a lot of folks that are going to find their way to this are likely, familiar with Expect Miracles Foundation. But for those that aren't, why don't you just, take a minute or two just to kind of like talk through it.
Sure, sure. I appreciate that. So we're a national charity. We're located here in Boston, and our mission is simple: is to bring hope to the cancer community, and we do that by rallying the financial services and beyond to do two things. One, to invest in life-saving cancer research, while at the same time advancing the financial and emotional health of people impacted by cancer. And so we've got three funds that we use to activate this mission. And the first two are research, cancer research funds. We've got a named fund at Dana Farber. It supports the Belfer Center for Applied Cancer Science. We've also got a fund at Memorial Sloan Kettering, MSK, in New York City. And both of those funds really provide incubation funding for advancing really cutting edge, promising research. And both funds focus on four of the biggest challenges in cancer science: early detection, because if you catch it early, it's treatable. Number two, real time prognosis. I think about my dad. It was a shame that he had to go through 3 months of feeling so horrible, only to find out that the treatment didn't work at all. I mean, the treatment grew. Like, so wouldn't it be great to be able to have technologies where you can have a more real-time understanding of the efficacy of the treatment? The third is drug-resistant cancers, and that's just a scientific way of saying we know it's cancer, but we don't fully understand how to treat it. And so that's where, the poisons of chemo and radiation come in, and it's kind of a shotgun approach. When more often you need a laser scalpel type of approach. And then the fourth is the really big one, which is metastatic cancer. So when cancer is spread, 90% of cancer deaths are due to metastatic cancer. And so we're supporting research at MSK that's really exciting. They're using nanotechnology to treat metastatic cancer, where they're taking therapies that they know work, but when delivered in the traditional sense, like with chemo and blasting the entire body, it affects all the healthy cells as well, and the patient
Mhm.
ends up, you know, really suffering and then passing from the treatment, if you will. And so the research group that we're focused on supporting there, it's led by Dr. Daniel Heller, is using nanotechnology to basically take a drug that works, infuse a type of brown algae, and this is wild, Bob. They tested thousands of different compounds and discovered that this certain type of brown algae acts like a magnet to a certain protein called P-selectin that is expressed by most tumors. And so they infuse the algae, shrink it down using the nanotechnology, deliver it intravenously, give the patient a very, very low dose of radiation. And what that does is make the P selecting this protein in most tumors become super active, almost like hungry, and it acts like a magnet. And so you're delivering a payload, if you will, a therapy just the amount that you need directly to the tumor sites and nowhere else. And so the healthy cells aren't impacted. And so it's more effective, and it's also much less toxic, or much less side effects. And so those are the things that we're doing on the cancer research side. And we're trying to help patients become cancer free. And you've heard me say this many times. At the same time, we're trying to help cancer patients become cancer free. We recognize that cancer isn't free. It's expensive. It's super expensive. And so this is where our third fund comes in, which is called the SAM Fund. And it's an acronym that stands for Survive and Move Forward, and it aims to help young adult cancer survivors. And why young adult cancer survivors? Because young adults aged 21 to 39, that demographic has the hardest time. It takes them the longest time to recover financially from cancer. As you experienced, as I experienced, it's expensive. There is so many costs involved, even beyond just obviously the medical costs. I mean, I used to think about it. I was fortunate enough to have a job, but every day driving into Dana Farber, it costs gas, it costs parking, and I was fortunate. I had the funds to be able to do that. A lot of people don't, and young adults particularly are vulnerable because they're no longer under mom and dad's roof, but they haven't built up savings. They haven't built up, a career and a network, et cetera. And so what do? They turn to credit cards, and they run up tremendous credit card debt, and they wreck their credit, and it puts them so much further behind their peers, and it takes a long, long time to recover. And so what we aim to do is provide funding once they're done with active treatment to help them survive and move forward. And so these are financial assistance grants. We call them SAM Fund grants for things like rent and mortgage, so housing, transportation, car payments, reconstructive surgeries. Um, we also provide what we call family building grants through the SAM Fund. And these are for fertility storage, fertility preservation, IVF, IVI, adoption, and surrogacy. And we're really proud, Bob, that there's, as far as we know, and I'm sure there's more, but there's 66 SAM Fund babies out there because
Hmm.
of the generosity of supporters that have given us money so that we can help provide the financial assistance for these young adult cancer survivors. And so that is what we do. How we do it is we bring the financial services industry together to do what they naturally want to do, what they budget for, which is networking and business development and client entertainment. And so we put on these events. As you mentioned, the golf event was the first. We've got two golf tournaments that we hold. We've got cocktail galas. The one in New York is 600 people. The one in Boston is 400 people. We hold a wonderful event thanks to one of our sponsors on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange. We've got what we call the Distance Challenge, which we started in 2020 when the pandemic was raging and threatened all our in-person events. And it's an 8-day move-a-thon, basically, where people come together as part of a team on their company for their company and run, walk, or bike, or really any other activity as many miles to, as we say, leave cancer behind. And so that has grown. That's our biggest fundraiser. We raised almost $1.9 million this year doing it. Over 2,000 people from 20 countries. It's been incredible, the response. People, you give them a platform and they want to respond. They want to help out. They want to make a difference, and it's working.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you ran for like, I don't know, you ran more in a day. Like, I don't know how you did it. Like, that was real impressive. I mean, you've kind of already answered some of the things I was already planning on asking, which is great. Which is, and in fact, I was gonna mention because I think it's a really cool idea. And of course now I can't remember what it's called, but kind of the idea that people can do their own fundraiser,
Yeah,
kind of
the
bring
run
your
your
own
own fundraiser.
fundraiser.
Yeah, run your own fundraiser. Yeah, my
Right,
colleague
right.
Delaney runs that, and people are responding because just put it into action. Whatever you may want to do. We've had people do lemonade stands with their
Hmm.
kids because they want to teach their kids the importance of philanthropy and giving back and making an impact. We had a country club that they do a unique tournament the morning of Thanksgiving every year, and they chose Expect Miracles as the recipient. And it's another opportunity whenever you can bring people together. Hey, let's make it even, more important or more beneficial to society, and let's raise some money to help people in need. And it's been wonderful. But the distance challenge has really just been taken off. And you know, yeah, I run a lot of miles during it because I like to run, but people do all types of different mileage.
Hmm.
It's really not about the mileage. It's about the concept of going the distance.
Yeah. Yeah, sure. Sure. I mean, I do the Jimmy Fun Walk 5K because
Yeah,
like that, I still
exactly.
remember the first one I did in 24 after my
Yep.
my treatment, and I like my legs, man, they were falling out. So,
Yeah, and good for you
um,
for doing it. Imagine if
yeah,
everybody did that, Bob. That's what we're
yeah,
trying to do. Like everybody has an opportunity to make a difference, large and
yeah,
small. It makes a difference if we all do it together.
yeah. It's infectious. Um, so two kind of interesting connections. One of which I just kind of learned now, potentially, and the other one I knew coming in. But one is that I suggest. Well, I hope if you didn't get a chance, you listen to both my first two interviews with Melanie and Kevin. But Kevin's a longtime family friend. Grew up outside of Philly suburbs, but he's actually getting treatment at MSK, and it would not surprise me. Like I was like, he's doing some really like funky stuff. And
Yeah.
so I'm sure I've seen Nano mentioned in his Facebook posts and things like that. But I know he's because he definitely had a pretty tough diagnosis and anyway, don't need to regurgitate that. But that was just
I'll
kind
tell
of
you, Bill,
hearing. Yeah.
when I watched it, I thought about this. One of the things that the lab that we're supporting at MSK is doing is um, they get a photo, and I'll simplify it for my sake. They get a photo of every blood stain. So, and you know this, every time you go in, the first thing you do after you check in is you go to the blood lab and you have blood drawn, right? And they run all the tests. Well, every patient gets a sample of their blood sent off to this lab, and they're using machine learning AI to be able to recognize this is what it looks like when a patient has this type of cancer, this type of subcancer, et cetera. And if you think about what the capabilities, what the potential is for something like that, because recognition is the first and most important thing. Awareness. It's no different on the science side than it is on the fundraising side. Build the awareness and figure out how collectively we can fight this. So if we figured out how to treat it for this one person, and every person's different, every person's unique, but to be able to share, to be able to use the science to make the connections between various patients just based on a photo, right? It's incredible what they're doing over there.
Yeah, yeah, it's crazy. I'll get to the other one in a minute because we got about 5 minutes. Like I said, this time goes quick. This time goes
Yeah.
quickly. But I'd be remiss if you're not gonna be able to see it. But I got my Lonnie Award here.
Ah, yes.
um,
Well
but
earned.
yeah, I mean, just to kind of make sure we close that loop. Just in terms of how I found my way to kind of going to EMF events when I first moved to Boston, and well, I moved up to this area in 2011, so it was like soon after that. Um, and then sure enough, in 23, I get diagnosed, and I'm talking to you as I'm walking the halls, and then I'm hearing from people that I got mentioned in the live appeal, and then I remember you saying like, hopefully you can come. Just I was like, there's no way I'm going to be able to just attend. The following year, I was
Right.
just that was a stretch goal. A stretch goal was like getting out of there
Yeah.
and just being able to go because I wasn't around people for a long time.
Yeah.
And
I got
so
to say,
just the
Bob,
fact that I got to.
I see why you have a proclivity for doing what we're doing right now, and I think you had mentioned this to me when we first started chatting, when you were, first diagnosed and going through it. Like you made the comment about feeling a little unsure about sharing this with the broader
Mhm.
world, beyond your immediate personal network. And I remember you saying that you were glad that you made the decision to do that because again, I have faith and I believe that it's impacting people. Other people are picking up on that. And I know this for a fact because Bob, you muscled up to be able to come to our event and it inspired us. It inspired all those people that were in attendance, all 400. We set a fundraising record that night, and people still that momentum continues, and it's because you said, you know what, I'll put myself out there, and I will forever appreciate that. That award that you were given was well earned. Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah, and it was great to win that with my friend Dave Catania,
Yeah,
who's
it's the
been
best.
I brought in again 12 years ago or whatever
Yeah,
it is, and he's still there every year doing
yeah.
his tiki
He helped
parties.
us out at
So,
the event last night. Yeah.
oh God, that's great.
Absolutely. It's
That's great.
incredible. And
Uh,
that's what this is all about, right?
yeah,
One little act of kindness, and it just has a ripple effect. We're going to be
yeah.
honoring Eileen Storcellino this year with a Lifetime Achievement Award. Same thing. She
That's
introduced
who
me to
brought me
you.
in.
Yeah,
That's who
yeah,
I went to my first event because I was pitching Eileen, my
right,
our compliance solutions back in the day.
right.
Um, yeah, so I can't end with talking about music. You know, I'm a big fan of music. I'm trying to end my interviews mentioning my playlist, the BBC23 playlist. But I'm asking each person if they're up to the challenge to create their own. I can kind of create it, and I don't know if you're on Spotify. That's where I do it, but it doesn't have to be that, but I'd love to create one kind of, BBC 23 with your name on it or
Sure.
whatever. But the other connection I wanted to make is so Adam Ezra Group, I'm a massive fan, seen them a bunch of times now. Um, uh, I really grew to like this song, Let Your Hair Down. And
Yeah.
that was released in 2015. Adam, if you hear this, because I want you to come on the show one of these days. I think that was the year. But that was released actually to benefit Sam Fund, and like every that was before streaming was like it was more digital sales, and so the proceeds from that song and video watching actually went to the Sam Fund. So I was just like, this is like a full circle moment, which I just thought was really fun.
Yeah.
Um, but
Music is
um,
powerful. It really is.
yeah,
It's storytelling, and it's no different what we're doing right now, and what I am fortunate enough to do for a living now. It's storytelling. Music is awesome, and I
yeah.
appreciate you always sharing when you were when you were walking, doing your laps at getting your treatment, and telling me what tunes you were playing, and it's it's inspiring, Bob.
Yeah, it's the same playlist. It's a BBC 23 OG. So yeah, so we've got 145 here before Zoom kicks me off.
Sure.
So yeah, in closing, I mean, I can't thank you enough for coming on and for just doing everything that you do, you, all of EMF. I've got my fundraiser at Rushton and Sons in Holliston, September 13th, from 2 to 5 p.m. Sam James, great musician friend of mine, is going to play, and we're going to be doing local can't see raffles, opportunity drawings for gift cards of local businesses. Um, but yeah, is there any last thing you want to just end with here? Final thoughts in our final
How
60
about
seconds.
well, a couple thoughts. One, thank you.
Yeah,
Like I told you, you started off as a friend, Bob, and you are still a friend, and even more so, you're an inspiration to me and so many people. And I appreciate you doing what you're doing now. Um, I'd love to throw in some tickets to our upcoming gala. You're already invited. You and Christina are absolutely invited, but I'd love to contribute a couple tickets to that gala for your fundraising, for
awesome.
your fundraiser. Absolutely. So I'll get in touch with you about that, and just keep doing what you're doing, and it's you're gonna help people that you never even meet, and just keep being Bob.
I appreciate it, Frank. Thank you.
Excellent.
I think we got 1 second. So really appreciate your time. I'll let you know when this is up. And yeah, we'll talk soon.
Thanks, Bob.
Keep going.
Okay.
EMF.
Take
Thanks,
care.
Frank.
Bye.
All right, bye.